We'll call a meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Steve Ruth.
Here.
Derek Burton.
Here.
Mark Freeman.
Here.
Karen Winchester here. George Cullis.
Here. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
We need to move,
No, this is the agenda, not the
oh,
consent.
that's right, sorry.
It's okay.
I do that every time, 'cause it used to just be the one. I'd move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Motion by Winchester,
Support.
support by Burton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now we get into the consent agenda. I'd like to bring, let me read this for the audience sake. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. They do not require discussion by the Township Board, and they will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will automatically be moved to the last item under new business. I would like to pull under the communications, letter B. I'd like to pull that down under new business, but I'd also like to put it at the beginning of new business because I have the code enforcement officer with us, and I don't want to make her stay all evening for that one topic. So if we move letter B down, we'll call it letter A so we don't have to change all the numbers under new business.
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Motion by Clerk Winchester,
Support.
support by Trustee Ruth, by a hair. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, roll call. We're going to pay some bills too. Yep, better do the roll call.
Okay. Mark Freeman.
Yes.
Derek Burton.
Yes.
Steve Ruth.
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes. George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. We don't have a public hearing this evening, nor do we have presentations. We will go to reports. I will start with Trustee Burton.
Okay, so the Planning Commission met just last night. So just to kind of bring some of the things that were discussed, there was a concern about the traffic down Laring Road as it related to the Renaissance Festival. The Renaissance Festival is responsible for coming back to the Planning Commission next month to provide an update on how the traffic is going, not only on Laring Road, but throughout the whole festival. As it relates to the Riverside, there was concerns about Silverman being the developer, at which he had stated that they had sold where the problems are, so to speak. The potential parking on one side of the road was discussed. The apartment buildings were replaced by townhomes with 2-car garages with 2 cars in the driveway for parking. There is now a nursing home and assisted living being proposed on there as well. There was also a question regarding in the retail space the drive-through and how that's going to work with the traffic on Grange Hall Road. So that's all I have.
Okay. Trustee,
I got a question on the Laring Road issue with the Renaissance, because that comes up every year. What can the PC or us even do about that?
So basically, some of the recommendations that were made, I don't know which ones are viable or not,
Yeah.
but there used to be, I guess, passes for residents that allowed them to get through. There is supposed to be a sheriff's deputy that is stationed on Laring Road to hopefully assist with that as well. There was discussions about creating some kind of signage saying, no through traffic, but that would come after this is kind of reviewed, I guess, if you will. But
Good luck with that, because it's been a problem forever.
Well, and then now they have a second entrance, so there's gonna be
Right.
two-way, and that's what they were hanging up. People were coming and going at the same time, and they were getting hung up. So there should be a good flow now.
To get out of the other.
Yeah, and they have the signs at the expressway and on Grange Hall now so that they know that it's closed if that comes up again.
Okay.
So it's one way in, one way out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll make a significant difference, I believe.
Yep.
We'll see though.
It's just one drive short of what Oakland County Sheriff had requested. They wanted 2 drives. They wanted 2 exits, one south of the entrance for traffic heading south,
Okay.
and one north of the
yeah.
entrance for people heading north. And they ended up putting in one, and we'll get a chance to read the difference
Right.
on that.
And they may have to do the other at some point.
Yeah. Did you have anything to report, Steve?
No, do not.
Okay. I'll move to the treasurer,
No report.
and then I'll go back to the clerk.
No report.
And report, okay, for the supervisor's report. If anybody drove by the farmstead tonight, they probably saw there was a truck parked on the property. Tomorrow morning, they're gonna do the soil borings we've been waiting for. Those are done. Last week, if any of you haven't already heard, Oakland County Board of Commissioners, at the last minute, approved a a ballot proposal. They are going after 0.95 mils on your property tax for mass transit. We flooded the room with a lot of opposing opinions. They don't seem to care. The problem is the whole northwest part of the county, and I mean all across the north and down in the west, all the way to South Lyon. Nobody will receive any benefits from this.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, Village of Holly runs our smart buses on a budget of $47,000 annually. Holly Township contributes to that, Groveland contributes to that, and Rose Township contributes to that. In Holly Township alone, they will take $385,519 out of Holly Township per year for the next 10 years with that ballot proposal. That's just Holly Township. Then you go to Rose Township, then you go to Groveland, then you go to Brandon, so on and so forth. Everybody's angered. The problem is, Oakland County has 1 million people. We've talked about an opt-out. You can't opt out because it's on the ballot as a county tax. If they were to make it a special assessment district or in a transportation authority, then it would cover the region that the boundaries would dictate. As long as they run it as a county tax, we can't opt out. The bigger problem is, if you look at the population of the county, we have 1 million people. Let me make it a little simpler for you. Waterford Township has 70,000 people. If you add the population for Holly, Groveland, Rose, Springfield, and Brandon, you're still not at 70,000. You have to add Highland to get close to 70,000 people. There are 1 million people in the county. The 0.95 was chosen because it's just under 1 mil, which is what the southern part of the county pays for the smart bus. So for the people down there, you're giving them a deal. For the people up here, they actually produced a map. It won't go past Clarkston. It won't go west of Waterford. It will go north up 24 through Orion and Oxford, but that's it.
What will? A train? Or
Whatever
Whatever
routes they
Okay.
put out there.
For the buses.
For buses or whatever they put out there. It is a problem. We sat through a meeting on Monday for 2 hours, and they literally say this stuff out loud. There are 2 organizations. One is called WOTA and one is called NOTA. NOTA is the North Oakland County Township, or North Oakland Transportation Authority. WOTA is West Oakland Transportation Authority. The chair, Dave Woodward, sat there and he said, take NOTA, for example. They collect a 2.5 millage for their transportation services. They will no longer have to do that. We will contract with them because they already have a system set up. And he said, we will put a minimum of $2 million into their package. They currently operate on a $1.7 million budget. So what he literally said was, we're going to quadruple the tax and give you a 20% bump. We asked them for their plan. And my question directly was, first of all, you have to make an argument that you have a problem. Where are the facts? Where are the figures? Where are the statistics that show we have a problem when it comes to transportation? Their answer was they looked at the census, and they said, do you realize how many handicapped people and seniors you have? We have to find a way to move those people from one point to the other. I said, but none of those people are calling me telling me they have a problem moving. Yes, we do have some people that need to get to doctor's appointments. That's why we have our bus systems. In Waterford Township, they have an $86 million budget for Waterford Township to run that township with 70,000 people. They run their bus system on $185,000. They would take from Waterford Township with this millage $2.5 million a year for the next 10 years. I am sorry, it is nothing more than theft. When you don't get a benefit, when you are solving a problem that doesn't exist, when we asked for the plan, they gave us a page with some bullet points. But when we asked for an actual plan, I said you had to come up with a plan, then you had to sit down and say this is what it'll cost to implement the plan. Well, no, we're not doing it that way. Once the millage passes, we will start to have strategic meetings. This is just, it's, if you had sat through that meeting, it was hard to do because with a group of township supervisors, we were all wanting to talk over each other because everybody was so angry about it. But I bring it up tonight and I make it part of my report because people need to be aware of this. We need to get the word out beyond our communities, and people have got to vote this down. When you have an economy that is where it's at and people are struggling, the last thing they need to do is add another mill to their taxes. And Brian Barnett was there from the city of Rochester Hills. They run their bus system on 0.1. This increases that by 9.5. And they would get nowhere near that back. For $385,000 a year, Holly Township could hire 2 limousines with drivers, including the little hat.
Yep. Good.
And we could do door-to-door service. I explained to them, I said, I don't care what your census says. Most families help their seniors get around. Are there seniors that don't have family? Yes, there are. And we help those with our smart buses. I don't get phone calls with people looking for rides or complaining they can't get to a doctor. When we do, that's when we refer them to Smart Bus. And they run daily in and around the Holly, Rose, and Groveland. They go 20 miles. They take them up into Flint. They take them to Fenton. They take them to Grand Blanc, down to Clarkston. And we don't have that magnitude of a problem.
So this is going to be on November?
Karen, look, it's already on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing. They had it on the ballot the day after it was voted.
The deadline was yesterday, and they sent us the language before the deadline.
Yeah,
And
and they
again,
just approved it Friday
The
night.
only thing on the ballot is the mill. It's not anything that you talked about. There's no justification on the ballot.
Correct. There's some language. I haven't seen the
yeah.
language
I'll
myself.
tell you what the millage rate is and how much money it's going to generate.
Yes.
There are a group of us that are meeting tomorrow morning, including Senator Johnson and Senator Rumsfeld, along with Commissioner Bob Hoffman. With the new districting, Bob Hoffman has the largest district in the county. It's over 200 square miles. It includes parts of Highland, Rose, Holly, Groveland, Brandon, Springfield. It covers this whole northwest corner of the county. And we're going to talk about possibly a campaign to thwart this. We've got some citizens that are want to be involved in this, and we're going to be looking at things. But people need to understand that this is coming because it's going to have a major effect on everybody, businesses, farmers. And that's the sad part. You add the tax to the farmers. We all know the farmers have to
Right.
count that as part of the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
You pass that cost right on into your food bills. So it's really frustrating to look at.
It's the millage rate for Holly Township is 1 mill. That's what we get
So this
per
will double.
year. This is almost equal to it,
Yes.
right? And it's a new tax. So it will be above and beyond what we're currently paying. So it's like paying for the township again,
Yeah,
Yeah, and with
as far as the
receiving-
amount.
right,
And with receiving nothing.
Virtually, yes.
yeah.
At one point, he did make the conversation. He said, "But people in Holly will be able to drive to Pontiac and catch a bus to a Tiger ball game." I'll leave that where it is. All right, we'll go on to public comment. Public comment on agenda items only. Members of the public can address the board on agenda items only, once recognized by the supervisor. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The board may extend this time by a majority vote. Prior to addressing the board, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. A second public comment is available after new business for all other comments. Thank you for your cooperation. Is there anybody for public comment? Mary?
Mary Blanchard, 3444 Old Creek Drive, Holly, Michigan. And I would like to comment on the special meeting, of which line 1 is related. I had no idea there was a special meeting on August 10th. I've checked with 8 different people who also attend regularly, and they did not know as well. It's not necessarily that I have gone back and looked at the YouTube video. The problem comes in again with the fact that we don't have an option of finding out about these meetings. And I would like to have the board address this again as far as trying to arrange some type of process other than residents going on the township website, which does not happen very regularly. And I am a person who, comes to these meetings frequently. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? None appearing. We will go to old business. Under old business, we have Holly Township Tractor. I've had a couple of attempts to get a hold of Harvey. When you call his phone, it says you need to enter a code. I talked to Mary, who talks with Harvey occasionally, and she said Harvey's not really tech savvy. I know that he gets his dialysis on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so I've been trying to call on the off days. I've not had an opportunity to connect with him yet. He's got visitors from out of town this week. I know he just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Harvey. 86, I saw on there. So if we just leave that on old business, perhaps I'll have a chance to talk to him between now and next month. We will move on into new business, letter A, and that is the in reference to Mr. Liu, the home on Fish Lake Road. Amy Hillman is with us this evening. She is the code enforcement officer. Would you like to address the board on this topic?
Yeah, to give you some background, we actually did some show cause in 2018 regarding Mr. Liu. That was when we first encountered him due to a house fire. Upon entering his home, the NACFA discovered an immense hoard of they're not cinder blocks, they are cement brick pavers. Mr. Liu is a Chinese refugee that came here in 1998, and he believes that the Chinese government is trying to target him with x-rays. You may have seen him around town. He wears a helmet. He's often draped in like those space blankets. So in March...
Made out of aluminum foil.
Yeah, aluminum foil. So that was our first dangerous buildings hearing. It took us almost a year to get Mr. Liu to bring his home up to code, to remove all of the blocks, and to repair the electrical system. He taps into his electrical system and creates his own devices, including lighting, outlets, and things of that nature. So that took a year. In March of this year, I was able to speak with 2 Michigan State police officers that he had come into contact when he visited the Holly PD, stating that he was afraid for his life. He thought that his neighbors were shooting x-rays at him. And then he had a long list of people within the Chinese government that he was afraid of as well. He invited those state troopers onto his property and into his home. It was at that point that they documented what was going on within Mr. Liu's home and brought that to our attention. It was then that I contacted the attorney to make sure that what I felt was correct, that I don't believe that Mr. Liu understood the ramifications of that decision and bringing authorities into his home and documenting what was going on within his home. In my job, I am not allowed to pass the chattels, which is the front plane of the home, without explicit invite of a resident, an owner, or a renter. So I do all of my, 90% of my inspection is done from the road, not only for the property rights, but for my own safety. So Mr. Liu then put together, the Michigan State Police helped arrange a meeting between NACFA, the building inspector, and the Michigan State Police to enter Mr. Liu's home and documented then from that point. I was also invited to that meeting, but again, I did not feel it was my place, and the township attorney did agree with me that that was going to put us into possible legal peril. That was on March 20th, March 28th of this year. So it was at that point that NACFA condemned his home. Mr. Liu has not only returned all of the blocks to the home, which affects the weight load. The brand new floor joists are starting to bow, but they have not yet cracked as we saw in 2018. However, he has tapped back into the electrical system, which NACFA felt was a fire hazard, which had also started the fire in 2018.
Yeah, he's not just to add. He's not just running electrical wire. He's running raw copper wire.
Well, and low frequency wire. So he's using stereo wire to operate outlets. And you can see throughout the documentation from NACFA that there have probably been and there's remnants of small fires within the home. So he has also brought in vehicle hoods, and he has shut off plumbing to some of the home and is starting to hoard his urine and feces. So upon this documentation, he was removed from the home. NACFA did post all of the necessary documents. He has removed those. This is a legal non-conforming parcel that has two homes on it. So there was one front home that he was renting, and then he was living in the westernmost home. This is what is affected by his hoarding and such. I did have a dangerous buildings hearing for this. Now, to go back, all of the blocks and the blight that had accumulated from 2018, he kind of moved around the property and at one point found a spot for it and it just sat there. As your code enforcement officer, I have enforced erring on property rights and the ability in communication. So sometimes it does take longer for me to get people to come into compliance, and I try not to make it a legal litigious action. So I did, however, end up in court with Mr. Liu in October, November, December, March, and then finally obtained a judgment in the end of May, beginning of June, to clean up that blight in front of the home from the 2018 fire. In April of this year, I had a dangerous buildings hearing. I had sent out letters. Because of Mr. Liu and how he communicates or lack thereof, I posted at his property. I sent through regular mail, and then I sent through certified mail the schedule for the dangerous buildings hearing, which he did not show up to. Our building inspector went out on site that day to kind of take a look around for himself. Mr. Liu was on site and stated that he didn't know about the dangerous buildings hearing. So from that, again, trying to keep us from any legal peril, I scheduled a second dangerous buildings hearing in May. Mr. Liu also did not come to that dangerous buildings hearing, and where our dangerous building hearing officer, which is Chief Steve McGee of the Village of Holly Fire Department, he had ordered that Mr. Liu had a 3-tier order. Within the first 30 days, he wanted him to obtain inspections from all 4 building, electric, plumbing, and HVAC to make sure that everything was up to code. Then within 60 days, he wanted him to to have all of the necessary permits to bring the home back up to code, and then have that done within 90 days. He also wanted to wanted to see an inspection or at least some documentation from Oakland County Environmental Health as to the safety of his well and septic. I have 5 returned certified letters that I sent to Mr. Liu regarding the dangerous buildings hearing. The expiration of that hearing, or of that order, was August 5th, which I was going to bring that show cause to you. However, being that Mr. Liu was put out of his home, he decided to put his home up for sale. Because of the state of the home, people couldn't access for appraisal or for inspection. So it really did narrow down his options. As of, I think, August 9th or 10th, according to his real estate agent, who did not know anything about the dangerous buildings hearing as well, they were supposed to have a closing on this property on August 9th, and they were waiting for the renter to have a closing on their home on August 15th. Mr. Liu came into the office yesterday stating that he was no longer selling his home and he wanted to do what was necessary in order for him to get back into the home, and stated that he could move, he could start moving blocks out. Mr. Liu has a communication barrier due to, I would assume probably because he's been quite alone for some time. But I am not 100% confident that Mr. Liu understands what I am telling him and what is required of him, or the time frames that have been given to him. I did help, and you'll see, I did help him pen the letter requesting the extra 100 days, because I couldn't really get him to understand what the show cause was, or what we were going to be doing here tonight, or exactly where this was. So, and once I ascertained that, I decided that a letter to the board would probably be the best. Now, I do believe that it is our duty to make sure that, the health and safety and welfare of our residents is observed, but he also does have property rights, and as a property owner, I think that we should give him every opportunity to stay on his property and to stay in his home. So I do recommend that we do give him the extra 100 days that he has requested. However, I would also request that I get approval for the expense of an interpreter, so that we can make sure that we are doing everything within our power to know that Mr. Liu is aware of that this is a legal process, and that there are requirements, and what needs to be done. And I think maybe if we are able to do that for him, that we may not have to take a year to get him to code as we did in 2018. I had the help of his neighbor at that time, and so did the building inspector, and that neighbor has not come forth since last fall. So I do not believe that he is helping him any longer. So it is, of course, up to the board. However, I do think that we should try to give him every opportunity to stay in his home and bring it to code if he is able. And I did speak with an interpreter today. I actually got her name from the Oakland County list of vetted vendors. She said that she would be available tomorrow. Mr. Liu stated that he would come into the office tomorrow. She said that we could do it by phone, so there wouldn't be a transportation fee. She is $100 per hour. I assume that was not, the other 3 didn't answer. I assume that's probably a going rate for an interpreter. I know it is for American Sign Language.
Well, and that could come out of the building department, not tax.
As a supervisor, I'm over the code enforcement, and I've been involved in this case. And I think another one of the reasons we brought it to the board is so that you would be aware of where we're going. At this point, we're trying to work with him and give him every opportunity. I do want you to know we've had a wellness check through the state, and they've determined that he's okay mentally. He understands his bank account, he understands where he lives, and I guess that's the criteria that they look at. Paranoia is not part of that, but that's what we're dealing with. What we would like tonight is approval to give him the 100-day extension, understanding that we're going to bring in an interpreter with us. At the same time, because we have had so much trouble and because he has ignored so many letters and warnings, we also want to make it 100 days, and then if we don't get anywhere with him with this last effort, then we will probably be coming back.
You'll definitely, part of our dangerous building ordinance states that it would go to show cause before the Holly Township Board of Trustees. So really that's what should have happened today, except for that he came in yesterday and stated that he was no longer selling the home. So that changed everything. I had thought that it was going to change hands. It was going to an investor that knew, I had that conversation with the realtor that had stated they were very much aware of what the problems were, that they were going to be held to the Michigan, building code and to our code of ordinances, that there was already a plan in place for that. I'm not exactly sure what happened to make that fall through, but he did state, and I asked him on 3 separate occasions during our conversation, you are no longer selling your home, and he said no. So I do believe that he will most likely live in that front rental home, or he might find another renter. I don't know, but I feel it would be natural for him to stay in that front home while he works on the second. So I at least that's what I hope. Right.
There's no basement, so the blocks won't be a problem.
Right, and that one's on that's on a concrete
It'll be
slab,
electrical,
right?
though, is the,
Yeah.
But also, so if he doesn't do it, Holly Township can go in and make the repairs, and then it goes on the taxes.
Which I would like to speak with the township attorney about it, because it is a legal non-conforming parcel. I don't know if that affects our ability to do that. No?
It doesn't.
Okay. So, and that would be, I think, probably relatively inexpensive, and
we've already done some work on that property that's been added to the tax bill.
Right.
On cleaning up the outside.
Well, and he did so much work in 2018. Half of the home sits on new floor joists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had, if you notice on the agenda originally, this letter was as a communication. Because of the change yesterday, when Mr. Liu came in and said he wasn't going to sell, that's why we pulled it from consent agenda and added this letter that he'd like the extra 100 days as we switch direction. Because it seems like every time we touch this topic, we just keep kicking the can down the road further and further.
Does he have, or is there a list of all the requirements that the various inspectors require?
Yes.
So there is, so we know is he financially capable of even doing that?
Yes.
Okay. And taxes seem to be okay.
He
I
just
would have to
you know,
look, but
Yeah.
his
as far as I
occupation
know.
is he was an engineer, and he, as she said, he.
Electrical engineer.
Serious.
Well, they do things differently in China, perhaps.
Yeah, but you don't do it. You don't learn anything about wiring a house in electrical engineering. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
All you learn
this
is math.
seems to be a habit of him, of his, and this is something that happened in Pontiac in 2012 as well. So I think this is how he chooses to live, and he just has a hard time coming to terms with our requirements.
Have we sent a list of requirements by the inspectors? So
Yes, he has the report.
He knows
He has
what's
the
in there.
order. It's been posted it was posted on his door by me. I took a picture, documented it. It is no longer there. And I had told him that, and he knows, and he agrees.
Okay.
That he is aware. He has received all of the documentation. It was sent through snail mail, and then it was sent certified. All the certified came back. Nothing else came back. And even when I was posting on the door, he was not coming in or communicating.
Yeah,
But he is aware that he purposely avoided it, or at least, that's what he alluded to.
He won't go in the post office because that's a government agency,
Ah,
and that they're after him, so. So, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the 100-day suspension, along with the understanding that we'll be hiring an interpreter for the next few conversations to just assure that communication is,
what would be the maximum amount we'd be paying the interpreter? I guess that's the only other thing.
I don't think we could determine that.
Or many hours or whatever.
I would say probably 2 at the very most.
I would say, well, I again,
Well, throughout the.
throughout
He's
the
got it.
100 days,
Right.
but I really believe that we would probably be able to bring down a lot of that if we were able to clearly communicate with him.
Right,
I
that's.
think a lot of the extension was miscommunication.
Well,
Does he have an attorney?
No.
not at this point, but I think part of the issue is we want to be able to go into court and say, we know we've communicated this.
Yeah.
On this day, we had this
Yeah.
conversation. On this day, we had this conversation. Then you have an interpreter that can say, I talked to him. He speaks in Mandarin Chinese,
Mandarin Chinese.
and we'll be able to make that connection. So it's just one more element of the township showing their due diligence.
Okay.
And they can come out of the building department.
Okay.
I would move to approve.
I was going to say I entertained the motions. Somebody want to jump on it?
Yeah. I move to approve the 100-day extension for Mr. Liu.
Okay, is there support?
Do you need to include the
Yeah.
hiring of the interpreter?
And including hiring an interpreter.
Okay. Is there support? I will support. Motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Supervisor Cullis to extend Mr. Liu 100 days and including the hiring of an interpreter to assure that we're communicating well. Is there any more discussion?
This is a long history,
It is.
and the progress is not encouraging.
Well, we got it
I have,
completed once.
I have empathy for him as a property owner, but at the same time, the township has responsibilities.
No, don't disagree.
The question, do we have enough to go to court now? And I probably don't.
We are the court. According
Yeah.
to the dangerous buildings hearing, you are the deciding members.
Right.
I think the
We'll see.
interpreter's going to help us be able to make the case that the communication has been thorough.
And maybe to reiterate that this is not expected to occur again. Yeah.
Right, and that at the end of 100 days, it'll come to show cause, and it's not just going to be another year. We're not going to keep on extending him as we have done before. When you talk with him, he just, yes, and smiles, and they're very, very short sentences. And that may be legitimate, and it may be not, I don't know. That's why I would like to take the opportunity to find somebody that speaks his language that will be able to tell me that he's understanding or what he's saying.
It's kind of a last, I won't lie to you,
Yeah.
it's kind of a last-ditch effort to make sure we get it right.
Yep. It'll be back.
And
100 days
to
is
give
complete.
Mr. Liu every opportunity,
Right.
and I mean,
Well, back in
I'm just one member of the board, but to me, I see this as the township has been more than accommodating.
Oh, yeah, we have been.
Well, that's why it's here before the board and up for vote.
The alternative would be I would request then we're looking for a judgment, essentially as a show cause. So you would state whether you are going to go in and fix the problems, or you're going to order to demolish the building.
That to me just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
He has property rights.
All right, let's go ahead and I'll call for the vote. Let's do a roll call.
Okay. Derek Burton,
Yes.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes, George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0 with reluctance.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be sure to communicate and let you know exactly how things are going. I'll also communicate with you what the deadlines are now, since we're kind of just taking this order from this date forward. So then I'll let you know when to expect to see the next show cause. 100 days from today, it's probably going to be sometime in December.
All right. Thank you for appearing tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to number 1 in Holly Township, Office's schematic design proposal. That is the one from AKA Architects. I will just for a moment address the questions that were raised in public comment. That was a workshop that we had. It was posted. I know we hear quite often that people are frustrated that they didn't know about things. There are legal steps we have to take to post them. They have to be posted in 3 places. We go through those legal steps. At some point, residents have a responsibility to check on those. It wasn't a meeting where anything was decided or anything was voted on. It was a meeting where the board had an opportunity to go over the report and ask questions and become familiar with it. Knowing that we had a pretty heavy docket for tonight, that was about an hour and a half of the board becoming familiar with the report that was submitted. That report is available. You can stop in at the office and pick it up. The information is there. That report, just so you know, was a needs assessment. What the architect felt. This is an architect that does municipal buildings. They come in and took a look at the current situation, and they take a look at where we are and what our future looks like, and then they come back and give you an idea what they feel you're going to need for a new building. And that was what that workshop was about. Tonight, the schematic design proposal is, it's in the packet. It talks about bidding and construction administration. There's design development. And in this particular project, I was trying to see work to be to complete the schematic design scope of work for a stimulated sum. The fee for this is $42,000. This will give us an idea of what we're actually going to look at for a new building in the way of design and costs that are involved. And it will get us then to the phase where it will be time to hire a company to manage the project and actually come up with architectural design and so forth. Is there any questions from the board?
We had no other proposals in place, or we
No,
came in?
this is vetted through the county, this company.
Amy
Okay.
mentioned
Yeah.
the county does vet. You know how we're supposed to have 3 bids?
Right,
Well, the county does this through their process,
okay.
and they have a list of you on their website of people that have been vetted, and these are the low prices. It's the same thing we use when you buy equipment.
Yes,
Or
state,
trucks.
there's state ones as well.
Yep, it's the state vetted.
This is county, but there's also state. We did through our copier and our office walls and
Right.
You're just saying the soul boring is going on now, or will be.
Tomorrow morning.
Shortly. So if that was a negative, would this change at all on their recommendations?
I think that it would only change the site. The footprint can go on any parcel.
correct.
Yeah, what the soil
Schematic
borings,
design.
what the soil
Right.
borings are going to tell us is what we have. If we can do a normal foundation, if we have to have
Right.
extra work done,
Correct.
it'll tell us some of that. And at that point, we may have to review it and say it's not worth it. We need to come up with a different plan.
Mhm.
So I will just say how I feel. And I learned a lot at the last meeting about, different things with the school and all that stuff. My thought, personally, the way I feel is I would like to wait until December to make this decision. And the reason, although I'm probably 99% sure this number is accurate, I'd like to be 100% sure. Right now we have a fund balance of 2.3 million, a little higher than that. I'd like to be 100% sure, not 99% sure. Because this is doing this, I would hope we're not going to be making these plans and to not continue through the whole entire process, which is going to cost a pretty penny. So I'd like to know that the number that I'm looking at is, in terms of what we have on hand right now, is 100%. And based on what I had heard last meeting is one of these proposals would be done mid-December, then I would have 100%.
You're referring to the audit.
Correct.
Okay. I just needed to make that clear so that people understood what you were talking about.
And I'm not saying it's not incorrect by any means. I just want to be 100% sure.
Okay.
Well, the bank statement is the bank statement.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well,
And our
I mean,
investment statements
We know
are
what the
investment
balance
statements.
is.
I will stay with my opinion.
That's fine.
Okay. Any other conversation or any discussion? Right. The chair would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, I just ran out of ink.
I'll support. So it goes through.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Ruth, to approve the Holly Township Office's schematic design proposal. We need a roll call vote.
Karen Winchester, yes. Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Derek Burton,
No.
Steve Ruth,
No.
George Cullis.
Yes. Motion carries 3-2. Second on the new business is the accounting services proposal. In front of you, you have a proposal that we spoke of briefly at the workshop regarding the auditing account services proposal from Plant Moran. Karen, did you want to talk more in detail on that? Nope.
Well, it's to prepare and get some of the things that we have going on with the bank reconciliations and stuff to get all that straightened out.
And this would be a process
And
ongoing.
preparing for the upcoming audit and as well as the overdue audit.
Yep, they gave us a time frame of December 31st for the 2020-2021 audit.
Okay.
And
That
then
would be it. That would be the fiscal year.
that'd be the fiscal. And then
And then
March 31st for the 21-22 audit. And this then prepares it to go to an actual CPA to be completed.
And I did let the state know that, and I'll be letting them know tomorrow that we've chosen somebody, so I'm in contact with them.
So why wasn't the previous auditor required to do that?
Well, we thought they were, but they never, after they were done, which took all that time, then they didn't start the other one, and somehow there was a lack of communication. George, how did you find out?
Well, they
were
hadn't
gonna do
started
it?
the audit, so I called
Right.
him to find out where we were on their list, because everybody's been behind.
Right,
And he said that he had notified the township that they weren't going,
You told
that they
me.
didn't want to do our audits anymore. The problem is, nobody in the
did.
office knew of that notification.
right.
So how do we know either one of these guys won't do the same thing?
Well, because we've been in conversation with them. The one you're looking at is Plant Moran on the top.
We probably went out, so we only got one back for the auditor. And Plant Moran can in the future do them if we need to, but I probably got a list from the state plus some prior ones, probably 15 to 18
Okay.
companies.
Well, and as Derek said, when he talked to them, some of them weren't interested in us because of our budget year,
Mhm.
and some of them weren't interested in our audit because we were too small. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this with Plant Moran and then a new auditor, I think that we should be good at what we need.
And the auditor is this Manor Custer,
Yeah.
whatever
Yes.
it is.
Yep.
Custer.
Yep, George and I interviewed with him for quite some time.
Not with this one, with Plant
Well,
Moran.
both, we did both.
Right.
Yeah.
The only request that I have is going forward if we could have more than one. I mean, obviously this is time sensitive. We want to get this done, but if we could get more than one to review for any proposal going forward.
Well, I did, we didn't only got one.
We
That's
asked for, what
We
about the
asked-
one you
like I
said was?
said-
I have one in my email.
Yeah, 15 to 18.
We never received it, I thought.
No, he didn't, it wasn't the same criteria.
Oh, okay.
Well, there was. It was the same criteria. There was just some other reasons it did not make it. So.
Oh, okay. I would move to approve the accounting services with Plant Moran.
I'll support.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Burton. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Derek Burton,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes, George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Now we go on to the auditor special services proposal. That's the next paper, the one that you were talking about, Mr. Ruth, the Costerison.
Costerison. Yeah.
Costerison?
Maynard Costerison. Yep.
Okay, sure, I'll agree.
I would move to approve the auditor services proposal from Manor Costerison.
Yeah. Costerison. Yeah.
Didn't want to come out.
Yeah, just to be clear, the cost on that is $16,900?
It was,
For-
I think, within 1,000 of what the other
Yeah, okay.
auditor charged. And we were having troubles with them for a couple of years, right, Mark? So
They were,
we were
There were
planning
time-
on only
yeah.
one more anyway, and
it was sometimes difficult. I'll just put it that way. It was
Yeah.
difficult dealing with them.
Okay, and that 16,900, that is for 2021.
yeah, so that's annual,
So we would be coming back for 2022.
yes.
Wait, now you say
No,
annual.
it's,
Well,
this is
it is
3
listed
years.
till 2024.
Yeah, this
so
is 3
Oh,
20
down here, I see it.
2023 will be 17,600. 2024 is 18,300.
Yep, there's a graduated scale right there.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the only thing I would like to add, because I know it's been discussed in the past, is requesting the presentation. And I think now is a good time to do that as we're looking at a new auditor.
Yep.
Okay. We're looking for a motion to approve.
I already did. Need support?
Could we revise that contingent upon presentation being made?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Contingent or
we
to
have
include?
that to include a presentation,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
motion to approve, subject, or
To include
to include,
public presentation.
public presentation.
Is there support?
Support.
It was a race.
He gets it.
Okay, so we've got motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustees Burton and Ruth. Roll call, huh?
Yeah. Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Derek Burton.
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes, George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Now we go on to the zoning and planning fees. Proposed resolution 2022-15. Karen?
I needed to update these because we didn't have any fees for seasonal sales. And we have, some that are interested in doing, some applications. And as well as, the solicitor's permit, needed to be updated to what the standards usually are, and, the sign permits. So that's the only thing that's changed. This was the original was from 2003, so this is a revision from 2003.
So we haven't raised our prices since 2003?
Mm-mm.
Good for us.
A question I have regarding these seasonal sales,
Mhm.
like, is that like if a food truck came into town and they were,
No, it'd be like selling Christmas trees
Ah,
or
okay.
Produce stand.
produce, yeah, like Lamont. So
Okay.
he was under a seasonal sale.
okay. Now, this would fall in, so say somebody leases or rents a piece of land, leases it, whatever, they do this seasonal sale. It's only people who would be having their property within Holly, not somebody who's from Holly going somewhere else.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
They would fall under that
They
jurisdiction.
Okay.
fall under wherever
Okay.
they go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Clerk Winchester, is there support?
Support.
Treasurer Freeman. It's a resolution, so we'll do a roll call.
Karen Winchester, yes. Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Derek Burton,
Yes.
George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. We will then move on to number 5, and I'm going to talk for a moment in regards to both 5. You'll notice 5, 6, and 7 are mining permits. They're all in the same situation, but we need to deal with them separately as far as a motion and a vote. Did you want to go ahead and
Go ahead.
you want me to take? Okay. So the first one is Tri-City Aggregates mining permit. All three of these permits based on HRC, the recommendation is to deny, correct?
Mhm.
What we're looking for is, obviously, if we were to deny the permit today, it would shut them down immediately. We don't want to do that. There are some problems. Talking with HRC, what we'd like to do today is give them a 60-day temporary approval while they prepare a plan to rectify the problems. In talking with HRC, one of them has a grading issue, which will take probably 3 to 4 months to correct. But they felt as long as we had a plan on file within that 60-day permit, that would suffice. If they don't get back to us with a plan, then the board would look at it again. And if we then deny the permit, they would be shut down until they fix the problem. But we felt that was a better solution than to shut them down immediately and put a whole bunch of people out of work.
Well, yeah, and then we'd end up in court as well, so.
Yep. So the first one is Tri-City Aggregates mining permit. And that letter would come from the township, explaining the action we've taken and giving them the 60 days. So your motion would be approving the letter and approving my signing it and sending it to them.
How about, I didn't read all these in detail, but is there anything listing the problems with where I believe they've gone beyond the buffer zone?
Yeah.
And-
Yes.
That's
If
the
you look-
number 7.
Okay.
Yeah, number 7, number 8. I know Gillespie's are here tonight. There's some specifics in there about that, along with some pictures. If you go to the back page, you'll actually see their property and the outline, and it's addressed in those items as well.
I agree, there's.
This picture here,
1, 2,
Steve?
3, yeah.
Is it this one?
3, 4,
Here's some-
No, this
7
one here.
homes that are
Okay.
affected
Okay.
by the
This is
South
step
Foot gravel, is that what you're talking
Okay,
about?
Supposed to be the buffer
Yeah, right here,
there,
Steve.
Okay.
Yeah.
25, so-
Okay, yeah.
That shows their parcel of land.
But
And then,
I think there's also a problem with Mount Holly area. Where there, is
Yeah,
it,
Holly
is it,
disposal, yes.
or
Yeah.
Holly disposal, yeah.
Yep,
Is that in
it's-
there?
Yep.
yep, they're outlined in each
Yeah.
one of them.
Okay.
And Mr. and Mrs. Gillespie, I have a copy of this for you this evening, and I highlighted it where it references your particular property.
What's your address?
6359.
Okay.
In your copy, I have I've taken the liberty to highlight the area for you with your address, and it makes reference, and it's stated in number 7 and in number 8 what they have to do and what they need to meet that requirement. I also have a copy for Mr. and Mrs. Gross. They're not here this evening. That's your neighbor. Yep.
So what's going to be in the letter? I'm sorry. What was it in the letter to them, to the 3 gravel pits?
Well, and right now we're dealing with Tri-City Aggregate, so their letter would say they've already gotten a copy of this report from
Okay.
HRC.
Okay.
So in our letter, it's going to say we need a remediation plan within 60 days,
Okay.
and we're issuing a temporary permit,
Okay.
waiting for that to be submitted.
Right, it'll reference the letter. of
And the temporary
what
permit is only for 60 days?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
We figured that would be a little bit more.
Incentive, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
And is this the area of which that berm is?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, I just happened to think of something when you brought it up. I don't know if 60 days is exactly right. It needs to go through October 19th, which would be our next meeting, our meeting 2 months later.
Mhm.
That might actually be 62 days.
Oh, that's,
But I think if we just put the date, temporary permit through October 19th.
Okay, that's fine.
We don't want it to expire 2 days before the board can do something.
So just to reiterate again, so we are really at that point looking for their plan, not necessarily for them to rectify anything.
Right, and the reason for that is some of the rectification's going to take more time than that.
Okay.
As John Balint from HRC said, that in the one gravel pit, they've got some surface work to do, and he said that's going to take 3 or 4 months to do. What we're concerned with is that we have a plan
in a
and a
timeline.
commitment with a timeline that they're going to do it. That's what we need to get.
And could we counter their timeline? So if if HRC's like, oh, they could do that in 6 months, and they're like, oh, give us a year,
Well,
could we come back and?
I think when we come back to this board, if HRC has agreed with what they have, then we're good to go.
Mhm.
All right.
Do the Gillespies agree with, have you got a,
Yeah, that's.
okay. Because to rebuild property line is pretty extensive for them.
Well, and that's why he said some of the work,
Yeah.
and he used the grading as
Yeah.
one example.
Yeah.
He said, I can tell you right now, it's going to take 3 or 4 months to correct that.
Sure. The question is, why did they go so damn close?
Well,
That is the question.
Yeah. All right.
but at this point, we're just looking at a solution.
The proposals are for them to work, yep.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to approve a temporary permit through October 19th.
Yes.
While we wait for a mitigation plan.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Burton. Roll call, please.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Derek Burton.
Yes.
Mark Freeman.
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes. George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Now, as I said, the next two are basically the same thing. It's just that we need to vote on them independently.
Okay.
This one is for Holly disposal. It has the pictures and it talks about what the issues are and what they need to fix. They have also received a copy of this. In all 3 of these cases, they're calling for not approving their permit until these issues are addressed.
So I would move to approve a temporary permit through October 19th, and a letter to go out for a remediation plan.
Okay, moved by Clerk Winchester. Is there support?
Support?
Support by Trustee Ruth. Roll call, please.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes. Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Derek Burton,
Yes.
George Cullis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. And the third one is the South Flint Gravel Incorporated. This is the one that affects the Gillespie property and the Gross property, which is a couple doors down from them. And those issues are addressed. In yours, I highlighted yours. In the one for Gross, I highlighted their issues. So it should be fairly simple for you to read through that and follow. And the pictures are there as well.
Now, they're gonna have, there's about 7 property owners that I figured are affected by that.
Yeah.
So all of them will be.
Well, yes, but they're addressed specifically because
Yes.
these are the property owners that came forward with the
Okay.
complaints.
Right.
So they're addressing the complaints that were there. We did an on-site inspection with
Okay.
HRC. I took them out to the Gillespie's house, and they were gracious enough to drag us through the woods and push us
Yeah.
over trees and whatnot
Yep.
to get up there on the ridge. And I can tell you, don't grab one of the trees to secure your footing because they have huge thorns, like that big. Pardon?
They're automobiles.
Yeah, well,
Those are invasive, yeah.
yeah, they were vicious, that's for sure. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the South Flint gravel mining permit, temporary through October 19th, to include a letter going out requesting remediation plan.
So moved.
Sport.
You guys get the easy part. Okay, we need a roll call on that one as well.
19.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Karen Winchester, yes. Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Derek Burton,
Yes.
George Cullis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. At the end of the meeting, if you want to stop and grab your copy, I've got it here for you. Number 8 on new business is Safe Streets and Roads for All grant opportunities. Karen?
That's not mine.
Oh, it's,
It's you.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, this was a while ago by the time we got this in. I forgot about this. This is from Secretary Buttigieg. They're writing to support the Road Commission for Oakland County's application for a safety action plan, safe streets, roads, and all grants. This is Oakland County Road Commission asking us to give support to the grant request. It will allow them to look at intersections. One of the trouble spots in Holly is Grange Hall Road by Joanne, where you're coming out of Fenton, the little curves that come around there. They've had a couple of serious accidents there. These safety things that they're talking about, a good example would be the 2 curves by the farmstead where they put a different surface on, non-skid type thing, and that's what this is. So they were, Oakland County Road Commission and Debbie Stabenow's office, along with Gary Peters' office, were asking us for our support in backing that grant request. And that's what this letter is, that our board supports it. Any questions?
I would make a motion to support that and to send a letter in support.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, is there support? I'll support Cullis. And we can do this by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That will take us to our last public comment. This can be on any topic involved. Same rules as the first set. Name and address when you come to the podium. 3 minutes. Anybody interested? Yes, sir.
Somebody is.
Somebody is. Johnny on the spot.
Randy Finkbeiner, 15335 Catalina Way. Some meetings ago, the board briefly talked about trash and refuse pickup for the entire township. I don't think it has gone anywhere. I haven't heard anything about it. I contract with Waste Management for my service. As you know, there's almost an unlimited amount of service that you can contract with, and you get different services, different rates. Excuse me. I just received my bill that will come due in September, and it has gone up to $436 for the year, which is approximately $36 a month. Each year it's been going up. I moved in here a little over 10 years ago. It was $175. So it keeps going up and up and up. I can't believe that if the township approached somebody to get bids, that it would be that much for the entire township. But it would also take our truck and our road usage way down if you had one service instead of, well, there's 5 services that come in my dead-end neighborhood. And 3 of those services run 2 trucks a week because they have 1 truck for trash, 1 truck for recycle.
Yep.
And these are big trucks. These aren't little trucks.
Right.
So we're in the back of a dead-end neighborhood with the roads that are falling apart. So I'm proposing to the board that if we can get a committee, whether it's citizens, board members, community group, to look into feasibility, again, for a township-wide service for trash pickup. I know some of the other municipalities around us do it, such as Fenton. They do it probably through their city. My brother lives in Fenton Township. They have a township-wide there, and I don't know if it's related to their county or not. But I would like the board to consider, such a move, because this is going up and up and up and up. I will call Waste Management. We'll have our annual talk. We'll banter back and forth. I'll choose to leave. They'll choose to give me the retention. I'll get probably a $75 cutback on the rate this year. And then they're going to add fuel tax on. I mean, there's a whole story that goes with this. So, but it's just going up and up. It jumped over $110 from last year to this year. And I know there's other costs involved that I'm not aware of.
Sure.
But that's something I would like the board to do. And if you want citizens involved, I think we can get a few of those geared up too.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. Gillespie? Sure.
David Gillespie, 6359 Laring Road. My wife told me to be nice tonight. But you guys have really made it nice for me, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yep, there you go. So, anyone else for public comment? All right. Before I close the meeting...
Wait a second. I think Mary wants to speak again.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary didn't...
And then I'm waiting to talk to Ben.
Okay. Gotta get that hand up there, Mary. I didn't see it.
Well, I was doing like Mr. Gillespie. I was thinking my comments.
Oh,
Mary Blanchard, 3444 Old Creek Drive, Holly, Michigan. It's more in the way of a question. Can I ask how many residents were here on August 10th for the special meeting?
1? Yep, 1.
I saw Mr. Kinnaman on the tape. In light of Mr. Cullis's, or Supervisor Cullis's comments at the last meeting, where you were praising the very few of us who showed up at the July meeting, I wonder if it would be possible for the board or the clerk to look into the process that Holly Village goes through, where you can sign up as a resident and you can get like weekly announcements through your email, and it tells you all the meetings that are coming up. It also tells you any special events, and that would be a good benefit to the residents. Thank you.
Is that the Gov delivery thing? Yeah, okay. Mr. Kinnaman.
Richard Kinnaman, 4151 Stonebridge. I'm going to speak as a resident, but also as a member on the Holly Village Council in reference to the proposal to go on the ballot for the .95 millage from the county.
I am extremely concerned about this and not pleased. There has been some initial discussion about the village possibly making a formal resolution in objection to that, and I would maybe put that out there as a possibility for the township board to do as well, regardless of where else we go with litigation ideas to oppose this. But at least a formal statement. And I would recommend that you speak to any other townships that you are connected with, a supervisor, or any other connections, and just those of us who specifically in this northern part of the county that will receive no benefit other than our money being taken away. I think we need to really show a unified support here to oppose this, and make it clear then to the rest of the county what they're really intending to do to us. The Gov delivery, I do also receive Gov deliveries from, when you sign up for Gov delivery, you can select multiple municipalities and things. I receive Gov deliveries for the village, for the county, various offices in the county, as well as a few of the offices in the state, and I track those as a chamber director, kind of knowing what's going on multiple levels. So I do know that there is a cost to it to participate, and also the village does have a part-time staff person who prepares those each week. So I know that's something you would have to weigh out in your process, but it is. I do agree that it is helpful and beneficial.
No, I like the idea. I wrote it down. We're going to look at it. Start looking at it tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I will just tell you, in reference to the resolution that was talked about Monday. Monday was Oakland County Association of Township Supervisors. There were 22 people sitting at that table with Dave Woodward from the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, and it was not a good meeting. It was unfortunate, but a lot of what we had to say fell on deaf ears, and the conversation was to come up with the resolution, and it was pretty much agreed that the resolution wouldn't be much more than a pile of paper that they put over there, because he continued to reiterate, well, that's why we're going to put it to the vote of the people and let them decide.
Yeah.
Well, they also know that we have nowhere near the vote count
Right.
that the southern part of the county has.
But this kind of unification can also bring news interests.
Oh,
to
yeah.
help,
No.
you know,
Well, that's why we're having the meeting tomorrow morning. You're welcome to come at 8:45 at the Villagers to discuss a plan going forward to combat this.
We need Albert Patterson.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Sir, did you have any comments to make this evening? No? Okay. Randy, you already had one.
Can I do?
Make it quick. What?
I thought he spoke at the first one. No, there was a second one?
Yeah.
2 minutes
That's fine.
and 59 seconds.
Well, yeah, I didn't respond to his trash, but I will when we're done.
Randy Finkbeiner. Catalina Way.
His trash request.
In tonight's meeting, the board didn't talk a bit about the fire department. At the North Oakland Fire Board meeting, I just wanted the board to know that the chief gave a great big long Washington-based hold-up on the monies for our ambulances. And they are ready. They are in Holland, Michigan. They are sitting there waiting to come. They can be here tomorrow afternoon if we could pay for them. So the board should know that, and our ambulances are dying. One is gone. The other one is just limping along on a couple of lug nuts. But they're there, and I don't know all the ins and outs, but Chief Lentz has been on the phone with Slotkin's office and another department. He's calling Washington, and apparently it's been pushed and pushed and pushed over 3 months. And it's at a department that all they have to do is stamp it, send the money. For some reason, they're not. It's not just our grant, it's all the grants in this area of
Yep.
Michigan. So I wanted the board to know in a meeting setting that we're sitting here waiting for our ambulances in the fire department. The money has been promised to us, the money has been accepted, through all kinds of correspondences, but they're not releasing it. We have a 30-day reprieve. After the end of 30 days, I think he spoke of September 15th. At that day, we have to buy them. If we don't buy them, they're gone.
And the board approved that the other night.
Yes.
And we will spend the money that we have appropriated for the other equipment.
Yep.
Because we do know it's coming, but you're right, it's been a federal snafu. They've moved the date. I think I made notes on my agenda the other night. They moved the date 5 times.
Yes, they have. I
I've
just want
already-
to bring it up for whoever may be watching this on YouTube that doesn't necessarily watch the fire board meeting, that, we're working on it. We want to get them out there. We need them. The area needs them, and they'll be a great benefit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I guess because you brought it up and while we're on tape, I will address your trash conversation. It was our intent to start looking at that as soon as we rebuilt North Holly Road. If you're going to invest that kind of money in your roads, it makes sense to get as much traffic off of them as you can in the case of 5 different trash trucks. The problem was, and you kind of have to take a temperature of what's going on, which is what I try to do before I present things to the board. With COVID and with the employee shortage that everybody's having, right now the big companies like Republic for the Village, they were having a hard time tending to the contracts they already had. That was problem 1, so we're waiting for that to kind of smooth out so that things were back to normal. Then the second problem is, and I mentioned this at a board meeting a couple of months prior, the legislature, for some reason, has been lobbied and is entertaining the idea of making it illegal to go to one hauler. And that's been a problem. Michigan Township Association has been working on that because so many communities go to one hauler, and that way, for the very reason, it helps protect the roads, it keeps the trucks out so that you don't have 5 going through town constantly. And we've not gotten a good reason why they're going through that, other than they don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? It has to do with a free market enterprise. They want everybody to have a chance at the work. And that legislation, they've been fighting with that too, and we're concerned that they're going to blow that through during lame duck. So there's a couple of issues that I've been monitoring and watching before we get ready to take that out. And one problem is to go through it all, to have all the public hearings, then to have them make it illegal, it wouldn't do us any good. And then the other problem was we were waiting for the companies. There were several companies that died during COVID. Other companies picked up companies. They did a lot of adjusting and shifting. But if you were watching the Village of Holly, they had there for a while, they had a couple of weeks where only half the trash would get picked up, and then they had to wait for catch-up, and other people were complaining that stuff sat there for days on end. And it didn't seem like it would make much sense to be promoting one trash hauler when the one trash hauler couldn't handle what he already had. So that's what we've been waiting for. So we have been aware of it. It is on our radar, just waiting to see the dust settle, so to speak.
About, has it been 10 years ago?
Yeah.
The Groveland, Holly, Rose, and was it Springfield included?
I don't
We're
remember if Springfield-
maybe not Springfield. We're going to join together for garbage pickup with one contract for the whole thing. The public pushback was unbelievably. They ended. It was so strong that eventually they just dropped the whole concept.
Yeah.
And it was like a $10 savings, if I remember correct.
Yeah, it wasn't
For
a
the
lot,
whole year.
but there were lots of people from members of the public that wanted to maintain their own private pickup
Well,
and contract themselves.
and that's part of why.
But that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And times change, but that's part of why we were looking at it, just trying to take a temperature of what was going on. it doesn't make sense to recommend to people we go to one hauler when the one hauler that exists in the community can't meet his obligations. And there was so much going on with that, so we've been kind of just sitting back and watching. Yes, sir. Public comment? Go
I
ahead.
wasn't gonna say anything, but I should introduce myself. This is my first meeting, but it won't be my last one. I'm concerned about what's going on in the township. I've been in Holly for 43 years. I live at 6499 Larian Road. I don't want to get into that. I just want to introduce myself and say I will be attending the meeting and find out what all the meetings are, and I'm going to start attending because I am concerned about what's going on in Holly.
Okay, happy to have you. Thank you. What was the name again, sir?
Charlie Gross.
Charlie Gross.
Got a lot of grosses live on Larian Road. I'm the minority one.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else to come before this board, we will close the meeting at 7:56.